Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Roaring Agents podcast. I'm pleased to have Nick Krautter here with me. He's the author of The Golden Handoff, and he's a top Portland agent. Welcome, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I love this idea of the book. I'd heard the title of the book. I didn't know it very well, and I just love the idea of the golden handoff and that idea of just how important it is to on teams. I was director of sales for 6 years with a team, and just handing off there, I just had that idea in my head. This goes a whole nother level. We want to talk a little bit about the golden handoff and how it got started.
Yeah. So for people that aren't familiar with it, the Golden Handoff is how to buy or sell a real estate agent's business, and it's something that kind of came out of my total surprise that there was no model for realtors on how to retire. You spend all these years building a business, building relationships, and whether you've been in the business 5 years or 50 years, those relationships are worth a fortune. And 99% of agents, when they retire, they just wave goodbye and drift off into the sunset. And all these clients have to go find a new realtor, which it's like trying to find a new dentist or a new CPA. No one wants to do that. If you've got someone you like, you want to work with people you trust and know that know you. And so the Golden Handoff is a way for agents to retire earlier and make sure their clients are cared for and collect substantial referral fees. And for agents that are growing their business, and this is how I got involved with it, it gives you a really simple, proven model to exponentially grow your business by referral. So you're not clocking in 4 hours a day, cold calling or door knocking. You can just grow your database by helping other agents with their clients that they're no longer working with, and just treat them like your own clients. And it works really well. And it's really exciting to see more and more people now. I think it's been out 5 years this October, and it's really exciting to see it grow and people adopt this and have success with it all over the world.
I read it, and it's actually, I love it's a quick read, but it's super informative. It gets, it doesn't, I talk about books that are start as articles and should have stayed as articles.
Yeah.
This just lays it all out there. And there's a big category that I think people miss, and it's the follow up. None of this works without the follow up. Can you talk about how you came up with your follow up strategy and why it works in this case?
I mean, for us, our strategy we talk about in the book is really that's exactly our marketing plan for our entire business, which is using different ways to stay in touch. I think what happens is a lot of realtors want to rely on broadcasting what they're doing to people as opposed to having a conversation. And the reason people do that is because it's easy and it's fast. And you can send an email to 1,000 people in 5 minutes, and you can put a post on social media, and you can record a little video. And those are all good. And we use that stuff, but you can't rely on that as the only way to stay in touch. And following up with clients simply is just checking in with people that support your business. So either people that refer you or clients that you've worked with, and just checking in when you're not in the middle of a deal. And quite simply for us, it's just our goal is to touch base with our past clients 1 to 2 times a year. And it kind of comes down to who they are and what they need. We do have some clients, they buy a house in the right school district and they've got young kids and they're not going to move for 20 years. And so do I need to call them every 6 months? If we're good friends, yeah. But if it's for business, you don't need to blow people up, because unless they're referring you lots of people, you don't need to bug them that much. But once a year to check in and say hi. Plans do change, obviously. I mean, that's the thing in real estate that's so hard, is I would say this job is incredibly easy when you're talking to someone who wants to buy or sell right now, right? You just put on your realtor hat and you go do your realtor thing. That's the easy part. The reason that people struggle to succeed in real estate and why people get out of the business is, what do you do with the 9 out of 10 people that that know you, but they're not going to do anything this year? And most people move on average every 10 years. So it's just really about being intentional about staying in touch, even when it doesn't directly create a referral or a lead or an appointment. Because 1 out of 10 times when you're calling those people, it is going to turn into an appointment or a referral or a lead. And when people say that kind of follow up, like getting on the phones and doing that doesn't work, what happens is they call 10 people, it doesn't work, and then they quit for the year. But you can't show me anyone that has any kind of social skill whatsoever, that if they just called 10 people a day, wouldn't be wildly successful. And it seems like such a low barrier. When I talk to people that are in like corporate America, they're just like, that's it? That's all you have to do? And like, how can anyone not do that? And it's like, well, the shocking news is, you know this because you've been run teams and you lead, a lot of people in real estate don't want to be accountable and don't want to have, lead gen time or a quota or whatever you want to call it. But the more consistently you can stay in touch, the better you're going to do. I'm constantly telling the agents I mentor on my team, our success is 100% about how many people are we having conversations about real estate with. And I don't care how you do it. Like if you want to door knock, you want to go to business meetings, you want to do opens or showings or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you want to do TikTok videos and engage with people, if it works, great. But it's a matter of, you have to have a two-way conversation. And I think that that's really where the rubber hits the road.
A lot of people want to just, they want the billboard, they want something, and then want the calls flooding into them. They don't want to do that extra little step. And I think that is the huge gap.
Yeah.
To get there. What I got from, if we take a main theme out of this, because I was actually surprised at some of the people that you were taking, the golden handoff, because you're talking about retirement, but there's people who not retiring, they're just transitioning.
Sure.
What I took, and I love this idea, is that everyone is replaceable. You're getting to choose who replaces you. We know that something like 76% of people say they'd use their agent, but only 25% do. I've always wondered how many of that is because the agent actually left the business. They didn't have a choice to use that same agent, and what got missed out there. And so that that idea, you choose who replaces you, you stay in touch. So let's first talk about retiring agent. And I often joke, you don't see retirement parties for real estate agents.
No,
not like in the corporate world. They just kind of drift off and do something else. So let's talk about the retiring agent and how they would organize to still get paid afterwards for all the hard work they've done in the past.
Yeah. So I think that, as simply as I can say it, a good agent to replace you is someone that you would hire to sell your house. So let's say, you've given up your license and you're going to sell your house and move, who would be on your short list of people that you would want to hire? And if you've been in the business a long time, you might have really long, deep relationships with these other agents, some of them at your office, some of them at other offices. I don't think that really matters. I think it matters more that the person is going to do the work that you've done to build your business. And so finding someone, now here's where it gets a little weird. I'm going through this right now, not because I'm retiring, but because I'm basically looking to partner with a group to handle our residential business. Our commercial division has grown rapidly. We're outperforming our competition. We're getting tons and tons of referrals from other residential agents and teams for those types of needs. And that's really where my passion is. So we're working on basically a partial handoff. And I talk about this a lot when I do presentations, because I didn't have this idea when I started the book. When I started the book, everyone was getting 100% out of the business. So what's interesting, to come back to how do you pick someone, is I had a short list of 20 people. I would say 15 of them I knew. There was 5 people that were referred to me by people I know in the business for agents that are newer, that I didn't know yet and hadn't worked with, but were growing and building really good businesses, but I just didn't know them. And so from that, a lot of the people I talked to were honestly too busy to add more clients to their client list, or they had gotten their team to the exact right size to serve their 300 or 500 people, but they didn't want to double it or triple it, even if there was a good opportunity. And that was surprising to me. But I would just say that a lot of times, if you're talking to agents that are more experienced, I think you'll be surprised at how many of them are kind of looking for a way to phase out or to maintain their business, but they're not on a growth path. And I think it's really critical that you have someone that's excited about growing, because by definition, if you do this right, the adopting agent's business is going to grow dramatically. And you need someone that's got the bandwidth and the excitement to do the follow-ups, that they can prove that they can do that consistently, because, it's some of these things, some of the clients, the first time you call them, they'll be ready to do something, which is great. But if you've been in the business a long time, I mean, there's plenty of stories I have of people that I've sold a property for where we started talking 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And it's just a matter of always staying in touch. I'm literally making a call today for a referral from a friend in the Bay Area for someone that wanted to sell some land in Washington. We met with them, we talked to them a bunch. It took 2.5 years for them to finally get ready to list it. And then they listed with someone else. And I really don't know why. So I ended up referring him for a purchase of a vacation home. And then I was checking with that agent and she said, well, yeah, they're waiting because their property just fell through. And I look it up and it's an expired. So now I'm going to try to go back. Now we're 3.5, 4 years into that relationship.
Mm.
And I would say that the best agents, the ones that are successful, just don't give up. You accept defeat humbly and graciously, because you know that, if someone hires another agent because they're saying they can sell it for $1 million, but it's worth 500, sometimes it's really good to be the second person, not the first person. But in terms of finding that person to take over, I think it's just finding someone that can do the activities, that's excited about growing, and that is going to communicate well with you on what they're doing and what's happening. And every time you have a client contact you directly, you can refer them over quickly and they get back to you and get engaged with the client as fast as possible. That is becoming so important. It has always been important, but now it's just ruthlessly important. The speed of response. People are expecting everything on demand. And it's really interesting talking to clients, especially people we know that work in the tech world, when we talk about how much time we want to properly list a property, and they're just shocked that we want a week or two to list it. I mean, they want to basically like hit a button on their phone and have a sign drop out of the sky into their yard and have an offer 4 hours later and a moving truck two days later. And I mean, we all want that, but the reality is it still takes, even this is what the fastest time in history to sell a house, it's still 3 weeks, which is fast. But I mean, I think a lot of people would think that they assume every house gets 10 offers in the first weekend, and that's just simply not true.
Yeah. Well, to that speed of response, we had someone who called the office, and one of the agents talked to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm looking to buy in Tigard. And the agent got rapport with him, pulled him in and says, hey, do you know this other agent on the team that's in Tigard? And like, oh yeah, I tried to call him, but he didn't answer.
Yeah.
They actually had a relationship. They were both in the chamber together. But when someone wants to do something, they want to do it. And agents who's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'll call them later. It is too easy to go catch another agent attention, and they will go with another agent. We have to be fast to respond, and we have to be.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was top of mind. He called him first, but he was driving out to the coast and his cell service was dead. So he couldn't get the guy's call.
I mean, I've literally had it with our team where a client will call someone on the team and then immediately call me to complain that someone didn't call them back. And I'll talk to the agent and said, hey, someone was, voicing a concern and I wanted to just talk to you about it. They said, they called you didn't get back to them. And they'll pull up their phone. They're like, they literally called me 30 minutes ago. I was in a listing appointment. I couldn't answer my phone. And they're calling me to complain. Sometimes, I mean, literally hang up the phone and then dial the next number. And you can say that's unreasonable, but that's reality, and you have to draw that line. I would say this for new agents. I remember when I was a new agent, one of the top agents said, you have to have boundaries and don't let people push you around and you need to know how to say no. And I was like, no, I don't. I need to get paid. Like I don't have boundaries right now. I'll have boundaries when I'm busy and successful. Right now, I'm desperate to get started and get momentum. And I tell new agents, I feel like most people I meet with that are newer agents now, they have the work-life balance all screwed up because it's all life and no work. Yeah. And there's no plan for saving money for a rainy day fund, which you have to do first. And then the next thing is you want to start investing. And then the third thing is you want to be able to start buying larger investments, whether that's businesses or properties, diversifying a portfolio. I see people all the time that are in their 60s and 70s, and I'm talking to them about retiring, and they just go, well, I can't afford it. It's because they've been making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year for 10, 20, 30 years, but they haven't saved any of it.
Yeah. And,
or their lifestyle is so expensive that it just, whatever they make, it gobbles it up. And I think people, I would say, honestly, most new agents have completely unrealistic expectations about how much time off and quality time they can have and still be successful. I mean, it's hard to make six figures and not be working hard.
The analogy I use, and you've probably heard this before, is, the real estate career is like an airplane taking off. You have to use so much energy to get off the ground. You're shaking, you think you may die, you know. Then when you're cruising, you get to ease off the throttle. But if you pull back on the throttle too early, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to have things too easy, you're never going to get off the ground. You're just taxiing around the airport and you're wondering why you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It take a long time to drive a 747 across the country.
So you were talking in the book about win-win-win. Talk about that a little bit more.
So one of the really interesting things, and this happened to me personally, is the first time I started calling through a database, I was really worried that people would feel like they were a commodity that just got sold. And it couldn't have been further from the truth, because the first win is the retiring agent. One way or the other, they're not going to take care of these people anymore. Whether they retire, they phase out, they don't call back as fast, they're not marketing, they're not staying engaged in the market. So when that agent is phasing out or retiring, those clients are going to have to find a different agent one way or the other. So the first win really is the retiring agent can have all of that work done that they were doing and have those clients cared for. The second win is the adopting agent grows their business, right? You get a new list of 100, 200, 500 clients that you can call that are not cold leads. These are people that were referred to you, that you've been endorsed to help. And the third win is the clients. Like I said, they don't want to go find a new agent. They don't want to interview 5 people. If they have an agent they've worked with a bunch and they really like and trust that person, and then that retiring agent refers them to me as the new agent that's going to be helping out, it's incredibly rare that I'm competing on those listings or with those buyers. I would say 9 out of 10 times, I'm the only meeting that they're having. So as long as I don't drop the ball or forget to show up or not call back and not follow up, it's smooth sailing. I mean, and I think that's the third win that I think a lot of people really overlook is my whole career, my success has been based on this community of people that have trusted me to help them buy and sell real estate and to get paid very well for it. And if you don't honor that by helping them find someone to care for them when it's not going to be you, you're kind of throwing a lot of that relationship away. And I think people do it because they don't know how to do it. And then they also don't think it matters that much. But I can tell you that the really good clients that have the relationship with that agent who's retiring, they're really grateful that they didn't just disappear. They're grateful that they took the time to interview and find someone that knows about these clients, that has some history and story of who these people are and is there to help them and be available. So that's really the win-win-win is the retiring agent can retire earlier and make a lot of money on referral income. And the adopting agent can grow their business much faster without having to do marketing, cold calling, buying leads. And then the client is the third win, where they don't have to go find a new agent and they have a resource that stays there for them as opposed to having to go and find a new person to do it. So
how many times have you done this in your career?
I think we've taken over probably 5 or 6 businesses, different sizes. Some of them were permanent takeovers. Some of them were, we knew it was temporary, like someone was taking a sabbatical from real estate to pursue another passion or to take care of family. And they knew it would be a year or 2 or 3 and they would come back.
Which actually helps them stay in touch with the client, which is what you're doing. That's interesting.
100%. Yeah. The first one we did. So in the book, you mentioned earlier that not everyone that's a great retiring agent candidate is actually retiring. And that's really the first person. She changed careers, stayed in Portland. And it was because she had a second child and knew that she wouldn't be able to be the parent she wanted to be and still be in real estate. So she got out of the real estate because of the time commitment was so high. The second business we took over was someone who truly retired and moved to the East Coast. And then the third was someone where they were going down to work on a creative project that was, 20-hour days, but it was a dream project for them. It was like what they've always wanted to do with their life at the highest level. And so they knew that they couldn't do the real estate thing. They were moving out of state and they were going to work on this project for, a year or 2 nonstop. And so that's the one where, that gentleman came back to town and I had appointments lined up for him because I was talking to all of his people and I knew all of the people that were ready to sell that summer. And he came back in the spring. And that one database, he was doing about 6 million a year in sales. We were both, he was a solo agent. I think he worked, maybe his wife worked with him a little bit, but they were doing 6 million in sales a year. And I think now he's going to do like 60. This is like 8 years later now. But we did 6 million in sales with his business, which means, you know, we made an extra 150 and he made 50 in 1 year. And so, you know, when they came back to town, that was the down payment on a house. It was that much money.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What is the minimum size business that you would take on worth your time? Is there one?
For where I'm at now, there would be some, I would want a little bit of scale. So I would say at least 100 good people. But if you're starting out and you don't have a huge client list and you've got a lot of, basically, if your best resource you have right now is time, then I would say I wouldn't consider any list too small. And part of what you do when you're helping someone is helping them a lot of times build the database because they haven't done it.
Yeah.
And so a big piece of, you know, the success is actually helping the retiring agent. Hey, let's make sure where this list actually has everyone you know that knows you. And so there's some technology tools out there that can help you do that. And I think just, you know, for most people looking through their Facebook friend list and looking through their phone, looking at the deals they've actually done in the RMLS, because a lot of times people will have deals they've done and they just didn't put someone in their database. I mean, the real gold of any database for a realtor is all the people that have bought a home because they're still in the market and they're probably going to eventually sell or buy investment property. Where we see less value for our business and for when we're adopting businesses is the, you know, the folks that have sold, especially if they move out of the market, if they move out of state or out of the region. We still try to stay in touch because these are people that know us and can endorse our work. But a lot of them, if they haven't maintained family or friend relationships, there just isn't any reason for them to stay engaged. And, you know, and they don't have anything they need from us. Even they don't even want to, they don't care how the market's doing because they live in LA now, or they live in Denver or wherever they've moved. And if they don't have people that they still know here or people that are moving here, it might not be worth, you know, I mean, I would say, like, unless someone says, take me off your list, then just do it. But otherwise, maybe automate more of that. So if they have a friend that's moving 5 years from now, that maybe they still get your email, but you don't need to call them all the time because it's not really respecting where they're at and where you're at.
Yeah. So let's go to the meat of the book. How do you do the handoff? How do you make it a golden handoff that you don't lose the clients? And what's the main thing there?
So the main thing is the retiring agent has to work with you basically to communicate to their clients that they're retiring and that they're endorsing you and you're going to take over. And so if you go to the goldenhandoff.com and sign up on our email list, we don't spam anything. It's just book stuff. But the first thing you'll get is a link to download a copy of the contract, which is basically a referral agreement, a copy of the letter that we send out to all the clients. And there's also copies of marketing pieces you can use. They're all in editable format, so you can change it. You can put your logo on it, your name. You can change the content as much or as little as you want. So basically, we send a letter from the retiring agent to all their clients. We email from the retiring agent to all their clients. Remember, don't do it. Can't come from you yet. They don't know you. It needs to come from the retiring agent. Even if I'm facilitating it and paying for it, it still needs to be on their letterhead with their return address and their name. Otherwise, the clients won't open it. So we do an email, we do a letter. Now we try to do like a little video, which we send out an email and put on social media of us talking about why we're working together and how that's going to look for the clients. So that goes out to everyone. And then the next step is the adopting agent. So if I'm the adopting agent, I need to call and introduce myself to all these people. And we have a script that's very simple that works very well when you're making your first call. And it's like, hey, this is Nick Krautter. I promised Mike Rohrig I'd give you a call and check in and see if you had any real estate questions or needs. That's the whole script, right? So that establishes your character because they've gotten an email that saying, hey, Nick's taking over, he's going to call you. They've gotten a letter in the mail saying, hey, I'm retiring, Nick's taking over, he's going to call you. They've seen stuff on social media saying the same thing. And now I'm calling to keep my promise to you, Mike, that I would call all your folks and check in. So there you establish your character very early and very strongly. And you're not selling anything, right? You're not asking,
Right.
hey, do you have a referral? Can you list your house? It's an open-ended question. Any real estate questions or needs that I could help with? Some of those people will need to list their house or want to buy something right away. And again, that's easy. Put it on your calendar, set the appointment, do your realtor thing. For everyone else, you want to have a little tidbit about the market. So I like to have, hey, I know, like right now, I would say, hey, I know it seems like there's nothing for sale, but there's actually 3,500 houses on the market right now. And even though people think they're selling in one day, the average house is taking 24 days to sell. But our average price is up 20%. And now the average price in Portland is close to 600,000. Now you don't want to vomit on them a list of stats. You want to have a couple things. People always want to know how much is my house worth? How long is it going to take to sell? Those are the main things. At the end of the day, that's what people care about. So, talking about time on market, average price, that's the kind of stuff that establishes your competency, right? So now you're not just a nice guy that keeps a promise, but you're also a professional. And then the follow up to that is assuming that they don't need anything, is say, hey, thank you so much. Mike did a great job. All of his clients love their houses and are really happy. And I'm really glad that you are happy with your house too, and you don't ever want to sell it. So what happens next is you'll get my newsletter and updates, and I'll be responsible for staying in touch with you. And before I let you go, I have to ask, who do you know that might be looking to buy or sell that I can help? And you do that at the end. So, I mean, at that point, you've established rapport. Now, some people are going to be very busy. I don't understand why people do this, but they'll pick up the phone while they're checking out at the store. That's why we have voicemail. So you're laughing because you've made those calls. Oh, I can't talk right now. I'm at the doctor's office. Like, why did you pick up the phone? Like, you should have it off. Listen to your doctor. So I think it's I always really stress that it's always ask for a referral and ask for it respectfully. There's a little nuance to that, which you probably caught, which is you don't want to ask, do you know someone? Yes or no. It's who do you know? Because then they'll kind of go through their mental Rolodex and think of who's the guy at work that said something about wanting to move next summer. So that's it. That's the meat of it. It's very simple. It's as simple as like when you're coaching new agents to show up to work every morning and make calls and do open houses and follow up with people. It's simple, but it isn't easy to be consistent. And so your number one job if you're retiring is to find someone that is already doing that, right? You don't want them to, oh, now that I have this opportunity, I promise I'll call everyone. It's like, well, do you do it or not? And so that's why I like working with people with more experience that have a track record of staying engaged with their clients. And how people engage is changing, and that's fine. Yeah. But I still think that in-person meeting is number one, phone calls number two, and then everything else kind of comes behind that. And COVID has kind of messed up the in-person meeting stuff. It's coming back. People want to do that, especially high trust, high cost things. People want to look someone in the eye and feel good about who they're working with and hiring, and make sure that they feel deeply that they can trust that person and that their needs are being heard. But the second to that is like FaceTime and doing, trying to do as much of that as you can. So
if there's an agent who's thinking like, hey, I want to sell my business to someone doing this, what's the biggest hurdle for them on their side?
The biggest hurdle is making sure your database is cleaned up and that it's really clear, hey, these are all my A people, and these are all people that I think might do something that I think you should stay in touch with. But if you just hand someone a book of 1,000 clients and there's no organization, it's going to be really difficult because you can't love everyone the same way. Now, if you get a database of 50 people, you can call 10 a day, you get through it in your first week. It's right. Not a big deal. But if you're talking 500, it's really nice to know who has the highest level of trust and relationship with that retiring agent, because those are going to be your core people. You want to make sure no matter what that you're engaging with those A clients. And then if an agent, I would say, I would encourage everyone who's thinking of retiring, don't wind down your business and then try to sell it, because those people now are working with other agents already. If you were doing 50 million a year in sales and now you're doing 10, it's not like that business disappeared. It's just other agents are doing it. So it works better the sooner you do it. It works better the more clear it is to the adopting agent who are the key people in the database that are really the key clients, your A plus people. And then if you're, if you're a successful agent, there's already going to be a bunch of tasks and follow-ups that you need to hand off to someone. Like just for me, and I don't even really do transactions much anymore. I'm just looking over here. I have 136 future tasks, and I've got 93 things that are overdue, and I've got 10 things I'm supposed to do today. And I'm not really even selling. So this is like helping queue up deals for the team, recruiting. I still take a lot of first meetings with clients and do buyer consults and seller consults with someone on my team, and then have them do a lot of the follow-up. So I'm still doing a lot of business development, but ideally someone else on the team is doing the nitty-gritty stuff. So that list of 250 things, that would be, start here. And then once you've gotten through all of these follow-ups of people I'm very, very certain are going to do something soon, then let's talk to the A-list people that maybe don't have a specific need, just to stay engaged and build that relationship. So yeah, the thing that retiring agents have to do, and it's just, unfortunately, there's no easy way. I keep looking for it. I can't find it. There's no easy way to do this, is to make sure your database is updated and qualified. And the better you've done on that, the better success you're going to have, and the adopting agent's going to have too.
Well, I hope any agents listening to this who aren't thinking about getting out or aren't thinking about buying a business took the point about how important their database is, because we both know that most agents do not treat their database well. They don't have it in a good place, easy to find, to have the task like you do. I think a lot of agents going by the seat of their pants, and it's more of a hobby than a business.
Yeah, and I mean, you call people, I bet if you call 10 agents, you're like, how's it going? It's like, oh my God, I'm so busy, it's crazy. And it's like, really? Is it really? Or are you just really disorganized and you've got 2 things in escrow, and you could have 10 if you, like you said, you were managing those relationships better. It's just, I'm always worried about forgetting something, and I have a very, very good memory, but it's just too much, right? It's way too much. Once you've got more than 20 clients, you can't try to do it in your head anymore. You've got to have a system that helps, gives you a safety net of, hey, when I forget to follow up with this person, I've got one right now. I've emailed them. This is a really good developer, investor client, very experienced. We've got a great relationship, and they want to sell one of their properties they own in Portland. Well, I can't price it until I get the rent roll and the profit and loss statement. And I've asked for it 3 times. And I'm going to ask for it again today. Most agents send that email and then forget that they sent it. And unless the person emails them back, it just gets lost. And I would say I would kind of go further than keeping a task list and keeping your database cleaned up. It's not your client's job to stay in touch with you. It's not their job to follow up with you. It's our job to do all of those things. And as soon as you know that you are 100% responsible for that, and it is absolutely not your client's responsibility to email you back the stuff you ask for, that you have to keep on top of that, you'll be a lot more successful.
That is, I'm pulling this clip. That'll be one of the little grabs I'm going to have for sure on this, because that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
That's I like the way you phrased that. So the Golden Handoff, where can they get the book?
Amazon or at bookstores. It's available through independent bookstores and through Amazon, depending on what you want. We also have a workbook edition, which I just want to make sure we mention. That's only been out a little while. The workbook edition basically takes the whole process for both agents. So each workbook has the entire process and steps, checklists, interview questions, a little checklist of the whole process for both the adopting and retiring agent. So basically one workbook has everything for both people. And that is available on Amazon as well. We did a lot of it direct through our website, but we don't typically do that unless we're doing bulk. And if you're listening to this and you're an owner operator broker, or you run a region, or you're in education, I do have kind of a whole suite of options that I have, from flying out and doing in-person stuff to doing a webinar, to kind of helping people through this process. I really enjoy teaching this and making sure, my goal is to make sure as many people know about it as possible. And so that's kind of how I organize and prioritize my time, is just trying to have, the biggest impact with the time I spend on it as possible. So.
And you said you're going to be speaking pretty soon?
Yeah, so I'll be doing in person, and it'll also be virtual this year. They're doing a hybrid for the NAR National Convention. I spoke in Boston in 2018, and then obviously COVID started happening, so they didn't really do much in 2020, and they're just now doing it. So it's in a month almost exactly. I think it starts on the 10th or the 11th of November, and I'm speaking, I believe, on the 12th at 10:30 Pacific. So I'll be down there in person in San Diego. If you guys are down there, come check that out, say hi. And if not, there's a virtual um, sign up as well for people that want to attend and go to the sessions, but not have to go in person yet, which I totally get. Everyone's got different comfort levels. I mean, some people want to hug and kiss again, and some people are still wearing a mask and hiding in the corner of the room or just not coming at all. So, we're still not through this. It's weird trying to balance all this stuff out as we kind of transition back, but I'm excited to do it in person. I just was in New York for a big Keller Williams office out there, and it's really fun for me to be in a room with everyone and get to talk and sign books and hear stories and share ideas, because it's a lot more fun than talking to a computer.
It is. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Yep, goldenhandoff.com. I do try to get back to everyone. So, I've had some really great famous authors who have mentored me, and they always took time to get back to me. I also try to be respectful and not ask them dumb questions. If they've written about it, I try to read that first and then ask. So I figure if New York Times bestselling authors can take time to get back to me, I can make sure I schedule time to get back to folks and answer their questions and help out. So yeah, goldenhandoff.com has all my info. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you've got a question or you're stumped on something, and I'll share whatever I can to help you through it.
Awesome. I really appreciate your time today. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.